Hi, and welcome back to the Swell Shenanigans podcast. I'm your host, Amanda, but you can call me Swell. Here on the Swell Shenanigans podcast, I like talking about all things pop culture, social media, and shenanigans. And first, I would like to say I'm sorry there was no episode last week. I was in CrimeCon the weekend that I usually film. Hermes is right here. He's being dramatic. I have a soda, and when he was a puppy, I let him chew on a can when he still had puppy teeth. But now his teeth are too sharp and he'll just shred this, so I can't let him have it, obviously. But he has just been demanding cans ever since he was a puppy. So he is demanding that he drinks my soda. Sorry, audio listeners, you do not get to see puppy, but video watchers can. But anyway, I am sorry there was no episode last week and I didn't give you guys any notice. The weekend got away from me because I was traveling in Vegas for CrimeCon, which is a standard channel YouTube video. And then a family member took a turn for the worse and was moved into hospice and then later passed that week. So there was no way I could feasibly emotionally do an episode, but also there was just no time. It just wasn't going to happen. For the most part, this is a one-woman show, and then post-production, William Swift. And so, but I can't give him something to edit unless I can make something. So obviously, that's the nature of this being an indie podcast. You're stuck with me and the way my life rolls. But I realized that I haven't done a listener episode in a while. So for those of you that aren't aware of how these work, you guys can send me audio messages, emails to the swellshenaniganspodcast@gmail.com email. And I can read your shenanigan and weigh in on it. And the way what's a shenanigan, you say? It can really be anything. It can be a stupid story. It can be an am I the asshole? It could be just something that you and your friends did that you got away with that you thought was funny. I would like for you to not disclose any legitimate serious crimes to me. But I mean, if you do, put allegedly in front of it at the very least. So I at least have plausible deniability. But yeah, it can be a stupid thing that you saw someone do. It could be a public freak out. It can be a Karen story. It can be a coincidence that you wanted to share. It can really be anything that you want me to talk about or anything like that, or just get my opinion on. And yeah, that's how this is going to go. And then also audio messages. I have some people who record them and then attach them to emails. But if you want to record audio message as well, you can leave up to a minute long message on Anchor. If you go to the Anchor page for the podcast, you'll see the message button and you can submit one, no problem. Sorry if Hermes makes noise. He has been needy ever since I got back from Vegas. He stayed with my dad and he has just been a lapdog ever since. But he's also an asshole. So he bites my wrists while being a lapdog. It's stressful. Anyways, so I'm going to start with some emails because we got quite a few. Side note, I always know when these my various endeavors are doing well by the amount of spam emails I get that don't make it through the spam folder. The Swell Shenanigans podcast, I got added to something for like a charge company. I don't know if someone filled this out for me or whatever. I don't even know what currency this is. Don't ask me to describe it. I could not tell you what that symbol means if you paid me. My guess is it's something in China, but I don't know. Someone signed me up for this, I'm guessing, because I have several emails from them. Apparently I started charging something, but I've not given anything. So we shall see. Maybe I have to contact my bank and see what the deal is. But it just looks like another phishing scam, so I'm going to avoid that. And then also the standard Norton, your subscription has been renewed, but they use like people's random email addresses to do that. So it's like, you guys are idiots. Okay, so I did listen to this one before we started because I wanted to make sure the content. Like I said, please don't commit crimes. But when I saw the subject line of this, which is, I could have got killed while listening to your podcast, I had to listen to it before I did this episode just to be safe. But I think we're good. Zeke sent this in. Disclaimer for the audience. My response to this situation isn't one anyone should ever have. If you find yourself in a similar situation, please be careful and be smart. I know I'm putting this on the internet and I don't want anyone thinking this is the proper response to something like this.
Hi, yes, hello. So, I am walking to the store after just going to the store earlier. Like literally not even a minute earlier. I had to go right back for something my grandma needed. Now, I hear a car roaring down the street. It sounds like a sexually frustrated Decepticon. Now, it stops near me. Someone gets out of the car, and the driver says, "Babe, get back in the car. You're wilding out. Put that away. You're drunk. Get back in the car." Now, this person says, "Run your pockets." Now, there's 4 people on the sidewalk. For him. Four men, excuse me. And I'm like, "Who are you talking to?" He says, "I'm talking to you, nigga." And I was the him in question. I was the him he was supposed to leave alone, and he really should have left me alone. Because I don't sound like it, but I am not someone you would pick to rob. I'm just not. So I'm looking at him like he's dumb. Not like, I'm tough. No, I'm just looking at him like what's wrong with you? Why would you pick that? Why would you pick me of all 4 of us? Like, what's wrong with you? I just don't say that. I just look at him. I just keep looking at him. And he eventually backs off, gets back in the car, quote unquote apologize. He doesn't apologize. He kind of like, "Oh, I was just joking." I was like, "Yeah, all right, whatever you said." Now, as this is happening, I was listening to your podcast. I had to say, "Who are you talking to kind of drown out the noise of you talking so I could lower the volume." So, in the middle of me like trying to see, "Oh, you're going to talk about my Silly Bears thing," I almost got killed. And yeah, that's the story. Because he was ready to shoot me. But, you know, I'm here. I'm doing swell, so go figure.
Okay, Zeke. I don't want to laugh, but because, oh my gosh, I'm 5'2". I absolutely look like someone that you would rob. Absolutely, I do. Especially with Hermes, if I'm walking him out in LA, we look like the basic white girl and the little dog, you know. And he's a psycho. He'll just start screaming at people. But my personal problem, is that I am just so high strung, so very high strung, that I feel like if I was in the situation you were in, I'm just looking for a reason to go ape shit. Really, I am. And I won't, because I do try to be a good person. I do try to be kind and nice and respectful. But if someone pulled up on me with a gun, I would probably get my ass shot. Because I don't want to laugh because this is like really bad, but I would be a fucking menace to society, and this person in particular for deigning to get in my way of walking my dog or listening to my podcast. I'm glad you're okay, for the love of God. I'm very sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry that you had my voice in your ear while you had a near-death experience. I am so sorry. To laugh because this is serious, but you the way I'm hoping you seem like you have a good sense of humor, so I'm hoping that you're understanding that I'm just, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the absurdity of the situation. The amount of people who have told me, it's part of why I started this podcast. The amount of people who told me like, "Oh, I listened to your videos like a podcast," and that was part of the reason I started the podcast. And it just made me think about, oh God, what if someone got in like a car accident or something, and my podcast is what was playing when they got into the car accident? Like, what do you do in that situation? Like, what? That's so embarrassing. So sorry that you had a near-death experience. You almost got robbed or whatever, or shot, while listening to my voice in your ear. I'm so sorry. But it was very nice that you were going back to the store to get something for your grandma. I feel bad I'm laughing, but I'm hoping you understand why I'm laughing. Like, this is insane. Okay, they signed a different name, so I'm gonna do the name at the end. Hello, Amanda. I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to send this small bit of weirdness that happened to my friend and I last year. We were sitting at McDonald's talking about how there's nothing to do these days when my friend stumbled upon tickets for MTV's EMAs. VMAs? EMAs. EMAs? The tickets were super cheap, like €20. I think that's a euro. I don't know. And they were being held in Hungary. Since we're from the neighboring country of Slovenia, like Melania Trump, my apologies, you Americans got stuck with her. Seriously, we decided to go last minute. Once we arrived at the event, there was a fair bit of confusion surrounding where exactly we had to go. There were a ton of people, but no one really knew where they were supposed to be. My friend and I asked the security guy if he could help us, and he directed us to a random door, seemingly leading to a basement. We decided to ask someone else, and they sent us to the same security guy we had already spoken to. Long story short, they finally managed to point us in the right direction, which was not the basement. We were early, so there was about 2 hours before the event was to begin. About 30 minutes before the showtime, we decided to run to the bathroom so we wouldn't have to go during the event. Again, we weren't sure where to go. We asked several security people that were standing at different doors throughout the arena. Every single one directed us to the next door, where another person would do the same. Eventually, there was a door with no security, so we went through and arrived at a room with people dressed up in fancy ball gowns and the like. We even saw a housewife there. We thought nothing of it and went by to the nearby bathroom. After that, we headed back the way we came, but there was a guard at the door this time. She stopped us and asked why we were going this way. We said we wanted to return to our seats. She was confused but let us pass. We later found out that we had accidentally stumbled into the VIP section, and all we did was use the bathroom and then promptly returned to our original seats instead of staying with the important people. If only we had known, things could have been so much different. So in short, security at the EMAs sucks ass. This show was great, but I could have been observing housewife-level shenanigans up close. I will also go against the grain of most people who send in their shenanigans and will not apologize for potential grammatical mistakes I may have made. Best wishes, Marilyn. Marilyn, thank you for sharing. Yeah, you said 2021 EMA shenanigans. I don't know why I want to say VMAs, but MTV EMAs. What's the difference between EMAs and VMAs? Am I just an idiot? I might be an idiot. Yeah, I think, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about because, see, I am very much, when I'm in situations like that, I can go either way. I'm either like, oh, where am I? Let's see if I can stay, and trying to find places I can get to, or depending how like my anxiety levels are that day, I am very much like, just tell me where to go and I will go there. I will be a good little girl. I will sit down and do fucking nothing. So I get why, it's like, okay, we just got to go to the bathroom and then go back to our seats so we don't miss the show. But I also get not wanting to miss the show itself. Different people value different things. So I mean, some people may value the potential experience of getting, snobbed at by celebrities in the VIP area. And other people might enjoy, like really bad audio quality shows in person. Because I've always heard the shows for the crowds themselves, the audio quality is either amazing or it's awful because they have to do the mic situation differently for the broadcast itself. So sometimes you can't hear anything. Sometimes you can hear a lot. Goes back and forth. And I guess it really just depends what you want from the individual event itself. I'm sorry that you guys had such a problem with getting, security guiding you where to go and all of that. I mean, I have no idea what the MTV awards here look like. I mean, I know what they look like from afar, but I've never attended one of them. So I wish I could be like, oh yes, this is like the same here. It's just MTV in general and their hiring practices or their, set up for events. But I have no idea. So, I mean, at least you had a brush with the illicit VIP area. Okay, so someone put in Acts 16:31, 1 Corinthians 15:1 through 8, 1 Peter 1:17 through 21, and Revelation 22:18 to 19. What do these all say? Hang on. I don't want to. I haven't been religious in years, you guys. I'm a former Catholic. I was baptized. They replied, believe in the Lord. Believe in the Lord Jesus and you will be saved, you and your household. I don't want to. What's another one? Corinthians? I'm just going to start looking these up. No, but I jokingly thought today, I know this might be disrespectful and really rude, so feel free to ignore what I'm about to say. But I wanted to know legally how many religions I can be a part of. The resurrection of Christ. I want to remind you of the gospel I preach to you. Did they send this to me on Easter? Nope. Not sure why I'm being sent. What is the meaning of 1 Corinthians? Church. The catechism of the Catholic Church refers to 1 Corinthians. Father, this is eternal life, that they may know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent. Okay. I'm going to stop doing this because clearly this is just like, believe in God, you heathen. Sorry, I do not. Side note, any parents listening to me, if you want to foster a good relationship with a religion in your household, don't use your religion or church as like a punishment. Easiest way, like don't just take your kids to church when they've been bad. That's what my parent did quite a bit. Don't not foster religion in your household. Like I was baptized Catholic. We were a Catholic family and they sent me to a Methodist daycare for like most of my adolescence. Like religion was never important in my household. So I never fostered an important relationship with religion. And then my parent was like shocked when I was 14 and was like, I don't believe in God. So yeah, if you want to foster religion in your household with your child or whatever, don't just focus on the scary sides and bad sides of religion. But you're a parent. I'm not. All of that. So Sean and Allie sent two. This one's titled, Help, I Accidentally Started a Podcast.
All right, so my recent shenanigan was starting a podcast, and you might think, wow, not a very cool shenanigan, how lame. But really, we started the podcast because I got super drunk at my friend's wedding, and I said, I want to start a podcast. And my friend's like, let's make it about coffee. And So we did it, and I'm like a very productive person. I want to do projects. So we actually did it. We're on like episode 10. And honestly, I'm starting to think it's really cool. But how the heck do you get a podcast off the ground? Just period. I don't have a following. How do I do this? I need some advice to follow up this shenanigan, because it's turning into something really cool and not just a drunken shenanigan.
Okay, there's a follow-up. I'm assuming this is the one where you tell me the name of your podcast so I can shout you out, because that would be helpful. You got to be good at promoting yourself. This is something I've never been good at. You got to start, business cards are a good place to start, stickers with your podcast on it. I know a lot of people who do that with a QR code so that they can get links to your podcast on various platforms or a link tree. Like I said, I just did CrimeCon. A lot of people had their QR codes with their link trees set up. A lot of people had business cards. A lot of people had stickers that they were handing out and all of that. You got to be your own hype man, really, at the very start. I've never been good at that. I 90% of what I've been able to get is luck, and then just people following me, and then that getting some traction, and then promoting it a little bit of ways itself. But I don't know how to personally grow a podcast individually. I barely know how to grow this one, and I have an audience. I'm terrible at promoting this podcast. Every time I put out a new episode, there's people who are like, I didn't know you have a podcast, and I've been following you for 2 years. So I am not the person to ask for this, for help at all. There's a 19-second one. Let's see.
I feel like maybe I should have promoted the podcast while asking how to promote the podcast. It is Coffee Tour with Sean and Allie. Nobody tells Sean that I sent this in. He'll be mad I told people I was drunk. All right, bye.
If Sean listens to this podcast, he's going to find out. But yeah, no, I really do recommend just promoting yourself as much as possible. Have dedicated social medias for the podcast itself, interact with other accounts and other podcasters, interact with other podcast networks, things like that. That's really the best I can suggest, and just kind of hope for some organic growth. Request that people subscribe when they listen, request that people rate as well. That helps in the algorithm, at least on Apple Podcasts. I don't know about Spotify, but at least on Apple Podcasts, I know that helps. And yeah, just kind of start growing other social media in conjunction with the podcast itself. Something that I've been looking into is starting a mailing list across all my social medias, but also for the podcast itself. Because then that way, if there is an issue, like say me not being able to do an episode for a week, there's one place where I can email you guys so that you hear about it. Something like that, growing a mailing list might be a good idea. Not so that you can harass them every time you have a note or anything, but just like a way of getting in contact with your audience, and also a way to just kind of, have like a legitimate number of your audience, I guess. It's more accurate than some inflated numbers from a podcast company and all of that. So yeah, that's it for the audio messages from the, itself, the Anchor app itself. I have a couple other emails, I believe. This one's a long one. Okay, this is more library shenanigans. I believe she has written in before, so but I can't remember, so I want to make sure before I say a name. Okay, the name's at the end, but still. As a true Slytherin, I love attention, and I feel emboldened to share with you more weird bullshit that goes down at libraries. I will concede that my job is mostly chill. I was a little dramatic in my last email, but the weird stuff really stands out because it's a library I work at. That being said, I have another compilation of my 6 years at the current library I am at. I also adjusted the size font. Hopefully it is easier for you to read. I was literally about to make a comment about the font. For those of you who don't know, I'm dyslexic and my eyesight sucks. That's why I'm always wearing my glasses. It's not for fashion. I am almost legally blind, I'm fairly certain, or legally partially blind, I guess. My eyesight is horrible. I need to go to an eye doctor again. But I do appreciate you make this. The larger font just makes it easier for me to read overall, especially for when I'm trying to do the podcast and I have to kind of pause to talk about things. That's always helpful. Just like last time, read all of them or none of them or some of them. I really don't care. It's your content. I just like the attention. Fair. Please do not use the following items as bookmarks. And yes, I have seen all of these used as bookmarks when checking for damages, clearing out items. Some I assume are people thinking they are being cute or funny. It's not. Other people are just gross. Tissues, both used and unused. This includes napkins. The wrapper to your condoms. I'm proud of you for being responsible family planning, but it's really not as funny as you think it is. Bacon. Personal checks. Seriously, don't do that. Or personal bills. Related, but kind of not. Don't use the CD and DVD boxes as your ashtrays. Yes, people have done it. Ooh. The bat story reminded me of the time a little finch flew in our back area of my workplace. It was fine. Most everyone was freaking out. I caught it in a little bag and released it. Cute little thing was just scared and wanted to get outside. Bats pop up quite a bit, actually. I've been surprised the older I've gotten how often bats are just kind of around. I don't know. I think it was media, maybe Scooby-Doo, that told me it's like, oh yeah, no, unless there's a vampire nearby, you will not see a bat. And then as I was growing up, I'm like, oh no, these little fuckers are everywhere. These flying rats are everywhere. Here, I'm going to do this last paragraph because I do think it's a good idea. Public libraries. I talked about the hoarding of books and things like that in my Cult of Book Talk video on YouTube, and talking about the hoarding of that and options for discounted books so that you're not going into debt over books in general, and also the waste of just buying books in general. And public libraries are another great resource. So if you don't mind me marketing libraries for a moment, go check them for cool shit like 3D printers, animation classes, and such. They also have collections that are tech-based for anyone interested in starting their own podcast or YouTube. Like my place has snowball microphones, camcorders, GoPros, ring lights. There is probably a librarian there that is trained on how to use some of the editing software. If your library doesn't have it, you can register your library card anywhere in the USA as long as it is a local library card. You can rent hard to find books from other libraries. Trust me, it's a great resource. Please use it. Signed, Angela. Angela, thank you for sharing, and thank you for sharing your shenanigans. Okay, there's a couple of here. This is called Groovy Drowned. Groovy, concerned, very concerned.
Hello. This is the audio version of Groovy. I just wanted to send like another shenanigan because these are so much fun. Love the podcast, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is just the story about the time I drowned, kind of. I guess I didn't drown because I'm still here 20-something years later. But, yeah, so this happened at, like, my aunt's house. I would have been, like, two, maybe 3 years old. Somehow I still remember this. But I remember, like, being at the edge of the pool, right? It was like a pool party type of situation. And I was at the edge, and... I remember just looking into the water, and then I just fell in. I don't know if I leaned too much, or maybe like I have like an evil, maybe like my sister is evil and like she ended up pushing me or something. You don't remember. Basically I fall in, like I hit the bottom, even though this is like the kiddie part of the pool. Like I swear if I walked into that same pool today, like it wouldn't even reach my knees. But being like a tiny baby. So I reached the bottom, and I'm looking up, and I'm having this weird like existential moment because I didn't bother trying to swim for some reason. So I just look up. I'm like, damn, I guess I died today. And I remember it happening for like a while, but realistically it's probably like less than 30 seconds. This arm reaches from the sky and then grabs me up. Like, they grabbed me out of the water, and turns out this is, it's like one of my older cousins. And I just remember being, like, pulled out of the water, and, like, all I can hear is, like, people laughing. She was laughing, like, this idiot, you fell inside and didn't try to swim, and, you didn't know what to do. And, yeah, that's the story about how I almost drowned.
Oh, my God. Yeah, no, being laughed at the family of drowning, that didn't happen to me. What happened was everyone overreacted. God, I was young. How old was I when this happened? I was probably 4, maybe 5. I was at like a family barbecue type of thing. My family, a lot of my family is a party family. So we had this big family thing. Everyone's drunk already. I was a literal child. But there was a jacuzzi, and I was in there with probably one of my older cousins or like one of my family friends or something. And I had floaties on because I was still learning how to swim. And something in my brain, my infinite wisdom of a 4-year-old, decided that I should put the floaties on my feet, my ankles, so that I could float without having to paddle. Because like the floaties were hurting my armpits, I think. And so I was like, oh, if I do that, then I can just float by my feet and that'll work. So I put the floaties on my feet, and what happened was, here's the water, here is me, and my feet obviously just went like this, and my head just went down. So I was literally just kind of stuck upside down in the jacuzzi, splashing around. I don't think my cousin did anything. I think she just started screaming. But yeah, no, they pulled me out. It was maybe like less than 5 seconds, probably, if that. I didn't know what to do because I was just like, I'm upside down now. Everyone freaked out. I was fine, obviously. I mean, who knows if I have long-term damage to my brain and that's why I am the way I am, but who knows? I'm fine. Not the first time I've drowned, actually, or almost drowned. Grew up going to the beach. Lots of riptides out here. Been pulled out quite a few times. Never fun. But yeah, I'm sorry that people laughed at you. My goodness. Okay, I really wanted to read this one because it's titled Abuelita, Destroyer of Villages. And that's just a good tagline. Hey, Amanda, William, and/or Hermes. William gets a shout out today. Like most Latin American folks, I have an abuelita-related shenanigan. When she was young, she used to live in a village at the base of a mountain. During the rainy season, a mudslide formed at the top of the mountain, heading towards my grandma's village. Instead of evacuating, my grandma grabbed the statue of a saint and yelled, "Save us, St. Jude," and yeeted it into the mudslide. I picture it as my grandma in the middle of the rain, treating the holy statue as a pokeball and yelling, "Go, St. Jude." Anyway, as the saint was swallowed by the mudslide, it detoured and ended up leveling the neighboring village. At this point in the story, one of my aunts usually say, "Mom, the mudslide was on the other mountain. Stop telling that story. It's really dark." But taking credit for the destruction of a village is a really on character of my grandma, so I doubt she'll ever stop. Love the podcast. Keep doing your thing, Eric. I'm kind of obsessed with your grandma. She was like, you know what? I don't care if it was on the other mountain. I'm going to have my main character moment. And she's going to tell you for the rest of time that was her main character moment. Taking credit for the destruction of a village. That's dark, but you know what? That's kind of bad bitch energy. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing. This is the last email one and last audio one for this one. Hi, Amanda. My name is Jasmine. In your last podcast episode, you talked about your stolen phone, and that reminded me of this story. Also, I too have dyslexia, so please ignore any spelling error you might come across. Anyways, when I was in elementary school, I had just gotten this really cool winter jacket. It was bright red and had a huge Diddle mouse embroidered on the back. Diddle mouse is a comic figure from Germany. He's a light gray mouse, has lots of collectibles, and was the shit back then. I was super excited to wear it to school. In my elementary school, the coat hangers were on the outside of our classrooms in the hallway. When my last class of the day finished, I went to the hangar to find my jacket missing. Searched the whole school, but it was nowhere to be found. So I, in the dead of winter, walked home super sad about my jacket. In the effort to find my jacket, my parents even printed out missing posters, which we hung up around my school, but no one came forward. A week or so later, my jacket mysteriously reappeared on a hanger on the upper floor, where I never had any lessons. We never figured out who stole it. P.S. I love your videos, especially when they're about something random you like to ramble about. They're super fun and highly entertaining. Thank you. P.P.S. I tried to find a picture of the jacket, but to no avail. So instead I attached a picture of the Diddle mouse art. I definitely have, I feel like I've seen this artwork before. Like or it's just reminiscent of, God, it's either reminiscent of another cartoon that I'm familiar with, or I've definitely seen this artwork because this looks familiar. But I also have the attention span of a goldfish, so who knows what the truth is. Jasmine, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I never found my phone. No one ever returned it. At least someone returned your jacket or returned it, and by returned it, I mean they wore it and left it outside and then you found it. Like that's kind of what it sounds like. They were hoping that you forgot about it or something. But at least you got it back. I'm glad you got your jacket back. It's so sweet that your parents were like, we're going to put up missing flyers for your jacket. That's so sweet. Thank you all so much for sharing your stories. Thank you all so much for sending in your shenanigans. If you would also like to be a part of the next Listener Shenanigans episode, feel free to send an email to swellshenanigans@gmail.com. Or if you want to send an audio message, let's try to keep it 2 max. I think that's probably smart. 2 max messages. Anchor, go to the page for the Swell Shenanigans podcast and hit the little plus message button and you can record an audio podcast. Or if you want to just do one continuous and not worry about being cut off after a minute, you can email me an audio recording, and that's fine as well. Thank you all so much for listening. Audio listeners, if you would like to look at my cute face and see little glimpses of Hermes while doing these episodes, you can go and subscribe to the Swell Shenanigans podcast YouTube channel over on YouTube for video podcasts. New episodes every Wednesday when I'm not having life get in the way. If you like this podcast, please rate and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Check out the Instagram for eventually I will take that seriously and be better at promoting myself on there. And that's going to be it. Thank you so much for listening. See you next week. Goodbye.